Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to Shenanigans 3, 2, and 1. So, a lot of comments on my last very small haul. I'm going to see if it follows. Look at that. I am using the gimbal, and it is following me. Look, hands free. Okay, well, it was working. Bear with me. All right, let's move it down or not. I don't know what happened. Anyway, come on. You're supposed to use like these hand signals. And I just kind of went through the instruction book. I'm learning about it. I'm going to just talk a little bit today, not a Temu haul. I'm having a frozen strawberry margarita popsicle. So we bought these when we went down to Nevada a couple weeks ago, and I forgot I had them. They're good. You could taste the alcohol in them. Just need a little kick before our hike. It is date night. Going to the casino. Hopefully win some money. I thought my shirt was appropriate. I know Ashton got the same one. But with that being said, going to touch base because I still had quite a few questions about my paranormal experiences. So, sorry. It's going to be quick. But in my last haul, I did tell you guys about my very first clairvoyant / paranormal experience. And that was right before I turned 5, the summer before I turned 5. And then things were pretty quiet for a while, at least. I know I lost a lot of my memory. Some things you block out. But do I get into the near-death experience? Sure. So, always afraid of ghosts as kids, Halloween and stuff. We were brought up in a very strict Pentecostal home. And anything that man could not explain was pretty much deemed. Let me put the light back on, see if it works. Was deemed evil. And anywho, sorry, you see me doing all this, it's because this gimbal goes by like facial recognition and hand signals. And again, I'm still trying to figure it out. Anyway, I guess I'll get into my near-death experience. So, as a kid, I used to have seizures when I had really high fevers. And I remember times where I thought my mom was trying to kill me. I thought she was trying to drown me in the bathtub, but I had an extremely high fever and I was seizing. And I guess the doctors told her to put me in a tub of ice, and she kept holding me down in the water and screaming and trying to get out of it. I choked one time. I just remember them hitting me, blows on the back to get a penny or seashell. I was laying on my back in bed and it got lodged in my throat. But fast forward to 1999. Sorry, it's cold. I was pregnant. My son was born October 16th, 1999. We had a Joshua earthquake the day he was coming, and I knew something was wrong the whole pregnancy. It was my third pregnancy. I was 25 years old, and I kept saying something's not right. I kept getting these intense, immense pains, and I always thought they were contractions because the pain was that deep. But went to the doctors, they did ultrasounds, and I was high-risk pregnancy. I bled a little bit in the first trimester, and they said, well, you have a condition called placenta previa. And that's where your placenta lies over the mouth of your uterus. So if you attempt a normal vaginal delivery, you basically hemorrhage and bleed out. So typically what they do is schedule you for cesarean. Kept an eye on it. The placenta was not budging. So they said, yeah, chances are when you go into labor, we're going to have to do a C-section. Okay, I was kind of looking forward to it, to be honest. And October 16th, my husband thought I was shaking the bed because I do this thing with my restless legs and I'll shake the bed. And he goes, stop shaking the bed. And I'm like, I'm not. And he goes, did you leave the dryer on? Because we heard this like rumbling. And I get up, walk out into the laundry room, and the dryer was off. But I remember walking, and I felt like I was walking sideways because we were in the middle of an earthquake, unbeknownst to me, and my equilibrium was thrown off. Then all of a sudden, it really hit hard, and the pictures start dropping from the walls. The speakers are getting knocked over. Sirens are going off in the parking lot from people's cars, and the building shook. We saw the interior of our living room wall split, and yeah, it was my first experience with a earthquake. So run outside. All the neighbors are out. It's probably like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I told my husband, this is a bad sign. Something is not right. I cannot be induced today. It was the morning that my son, my 25-year-old, obviously survived, was due. So maybe I'll have time to get into the rest of the story. Anyway, I go to the hospital. They set me up with Pitocin. They actually gave me over the legal limit, and my son's heart stopped. Next thing you know, they rush the nurses around me, putting oxygen in and everything. And my husband's like, what's going on? And they're like, the baby's heartbeat is deteriorating. We have to get this kid out now. Well, my doctor that had planned the induction of the delivery was out playing golf for 12 hours. And mind you, we had a $6 million lawsuit against the hospital and doctors. That's another story, obviously. Never got it. They had me set up because you hemorrhage with my blood type, and they stored it in the basement of the hospital. So they get me in, and they pull him out. And a lot of this is, my memory's not too keen. But I just remember the nurses pushing down on my stomach, and I was crying. I'm like, it hurts. It hurts. Like they just opened me up, and I'm like, it hurts. And I felt like I was peeing on myself, but it was blood. I was hemorrhaging. So just to let you guys know, this is going to be kind of gross, some of the details. Anyway, the next thing you know, doctors are running in. My ex-husband's aunt accidentally was looking for me and opened up the door to the room, and she starts screaming and freaking out, saying, what is going on? What are you doing to her? And I am in a puddle of blood, unbeknownst to me at the time. Next thing you know, the doctor comes in, he's putting on his gloves and his scrubs, and he goes, where is her blood? If I don't get her blood up here, somebody's gonna, lose their jobs. And the nurses are frantic. They're like, we called down for her blood 45 minutes ago. He goes, she's been bleeding out for 45 minutes. Well, your body has about 10 units of blood. I had lost over 9. Brink of death. This is not my near-death experience. I'm just leading up to it. Maybe in little clips at that. Next thing you know, a nurse comes over and she says, you're going to feel a pinch in your neck. And she has this long needle. And I guess because I was bleeding so rapidly, they had the blood finally come up and they had to give me an infusion through the neck. Next thing you know, I woke up in the hospital 3 weeks later. I was in a coma because I lost too much blood, and I was bleeding internally and externally, bleeding out. So then they said, doctor comes in, and I remember he said, how do you feel? And I said, it hurts when I inhale. In my back, it was a sharp pain. And I'm like, what happened? He goes, well, what happened? We don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. And I'll never forget, that was his answer to my question initially. And I said, I don't understand. He said, we had to do a hysterectomy. You hemorrhaged. And I said, so will I be able to have any more kids? Again, I had just started a family with my husband. I was 25 years old. And he said, no, a hysterectomy means you can't have any more kids. Okay. I knew that, but was out of it with all the coming out of coma, right? So, anyhow, he said that my son Devin was stillborn. He had no heartbeat. Basically, we found out later when we went to court that it was because his heart stopped because they gave us over the legal limit of Pitocin that induces labor. They resuscitated him, obviously. It took him a little while, but he was stillborn. So he's my miracle baby, literally. And I celebrate my life the day he was born because I was given another chance. So anyway, I told them that my back hurt when I inhaled, and they went and did some tests and found out that during the hysterectomy, well, actually, back up, when they were delivering my son, they severed my uterus. And that's what also contributed to me bleeding out and hemorrhaging. And then when they severed the uterus, they actually went to clamp it back on the bladder. And it's like a garden hose. If you bend it, no water's coming through. You open it up, the water flows. So basically, the way they clamped it on the bladder caused an obstruction. And you have your kidney here. your bladder here, and the ureter is the tube that connects the two. So anything that drains from your kidneys will go through the ureter into the bladder. Well, the ureter was clamped in the bladder, so everything going through the kidney got stuck. And hence, round 2, I started drowning in my fluids and the blood transfusion. And there's videos that I can't watch where I was so swollen. And my eyes were swollen shut. I couldn't open them, so I couldn't see. I could just hear. And he said, round 2, we have to go back in there and do surgery. But first, we're going to try something called a nephrostomy tube. And basically what that is, it's a bag that has a hose, and they put the hose inside your kidney. So they drilled a hole in my back, put this hole in, punctured the outside of the kidney, and it collected urine in a bag. And I would just drain like the bag of urine. So I didn't pee. Everything was collected in this nephrostomy tube bag. That failed. The obstruction was still there. So this comes to the near-death experience. They went in to, again, try to attach the ureter back to the bladder. And that's when I flatlined and died. Basically, it's gross, but for those of you that don't know, when you die, you expel urine, you poop and pee on yourself. There's no other polite way to say it. You shit yourself. And at this point, I had been in the hospital for 3.5 weeks with nothing but like the feeding tube and IVs. So I couldn't eat, and I was so hungry, and they wouldn't let me eat because I didn't poop. And I kept saying, I'm hungry, I want to eat. And my husband would ask, can she eat? And they're like, no, not until she has a bowel movement. Well, of course, I hadn't had a bowel movement in like 3 weeks. So they wheeled me in for this surgery, and I was terrified of the hospital. Some of the points in the story might be mixed up, but I don't talk about it often. So I say my I love yous. My son was 3 weeks old when I held him. Well, they held him in my arms for me, and I could barely open my eyes to see him, but I saw him right before the surgery, and they put me under. Now, what I remember is kind of like in that sleep mode. And the best way I can describe it is if I'm laying on my back like this. Okay, I'm on my back. It's like somebody's on top of you. So I was literally laying, looking down at my body. But what's weird is I saw more than 360. I'm talking colors, shapes. I saw the nurses, the color of her eyes in the corner cleaning instruments. I saw the scrub nurse put the iodine on the swab. I saw the ones that put anesthesiologists behind me putting stuff in my IV. I saw every angle as if I'm looking at it like I'm looking at you, and as if I'm looking at myself as a third person. I was literally floating on top of myself, looking down at my body. I was looking at myself on my back, on the stretcher, and I was floating, floating, floating. And then I saw, and it's gross, but I saw myself poop on the table. And they have the white tissue paper. You know, you go in a doctor's office and you sit on the paper and then they roll it out. It's a big sheet, like a huge paper towel roller. And they're pulling the sheet from under me that I'm pooping on, and they started wiping my butt. And again, I could see as if I'm looking out from every angle of my body, looking in, looking from the nurse's perspective, my perspective. It was weird. There's no way to really explain it other than to say I saw myself the way I saw myself floating down on myself. I saw myself looking up to myself floating. I saw the nurses looking at me. I could feel almost every feeling in the room from the fear of the doctors. And then, you know, it's like my back hit the ceiling, the part of me that was floating up, and I just zoomed back into my body. I didn't see God. I didn't hear God. I started to see like a faint, like flashlight light, but then I got sucked back into my body. And then they kind of woke me up and were talking to me, and I started crying. And I started freaking out saying, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me. They're wheeling me to the room. My husband's there and I'm crying. I'm like, get me out of here. Get me out of here. He's like, what is going on? I'm like, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me. And he's saying to the nurse wheeling me to the intensive care unit, he's like, what is she talking about? And I'm like, they tried to kill me. I died. I saw everything. I saw there was an Asian nurse over here and I saw this one cleaning. And he's looking at me. And the nurse is like, oh, she had a lot of drugs. People have a weird reaction to anesthesia. Mind you, I had had surgeries prior to this and never experienced anything like it. And I saw that they were trying to convince him that I didn't see anything, nothing happened, everything was fine in the operating room. And I realized I was getting nowhere because he's like, it's okay, it's okay. I'm like, no, get me out of here. This hospital's going to kill me. So then they get me in the bed and I asked if I could eat something. And my husband right away said, no, you can't. And the nurse goes, sure, honey, you could have whatever you want. And he told the nurse, no, she can't. And I said, yeah, I can. You know why? Because I saw myself shit on the table. And he looked at the nurse and she looked at him and she went to leave and she goes, I'll get a doctor. And I said, no. Did I shit on the table? And he said, did she? And she said, yes, but I'll get the doctor. And I said, I told you, I'm not lying. I saw myself shit on the table. So they let me eat, but that pretty much was my near-death experience. But after all of that, things started changing rapidly in my life. I got obsessed with, kind of like I do Timu, with learning more about near-death experiences, people crossing over, became a huge fan of John Edwards, read everything Sylvia Browne, any book I could read about people that have died and come back, I became obsessed with, as well as TV shows and documentaries and all that stuff. So as I started diving into this, you open up your mind. It's like meditation or yoga, I think. You open up portions of your mind. If you open up that door, somebody's going to come in. Something's going to come in. So the more knowledge I got, the more I got to understand what had happened. And I started seeing and hearing a lot more paranormal stuff. I didn't see them as much as I heard them. So I think if you are blessed, a lot of people have all the gifts. Some are empathetic, some see them, some hear them, some smell them, some, you know what I mean? My mom's an empathetic. She picks up on their feelings. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because we're heading out for our hike and going to his daughter's house and then the casino and the hotel. And I'm going to have some fun tonight, so wish me luck. Hopefully I win. But that is the beginning of how all of these gifts got stronger. But knowing now from my experience at 5 years old and some workshops I've attended, that I've always had it, but for some reason that just triggered it. Now, one thing I will say in closing is that most people that have near-death experiences come out not fearing death. I always knew in my heart, by my faith, that there was more to this life, but to see it and feel it and experience, I know without a shadow of a doubt there's more. What it is, I don't know. But I know it's there. But instead of me embracing death, I became paranoid, extremely fearful that every time I went to the doctor, I was going to die. Something was going to happen. Mind you, 17 surgeries in 5 years, all from the birth of my son. And we'll get into more of that later. But that was my first, pretty much my only near-death experience. And it was life-changing. Literally and figuratively. But anyway, with that, we are heading out. Gonna finish my frozen margarita, daiquiri, strawberry daiquiri, and go get some prime rib, maybe crab legs. I don't know what I'm gonna do tonight, but I'm gonna grub. So with that, thank you guys for being here. I know a lot of you are responding to the last video where I kind of touched base on just how things evolved in my life. And I'll have a lot more stories to tell. Maybe I'll put in some of the Timu hauls. I'll start them and end with just little tidbits leading up to where I am today at 52 years old in my life. All right, so let's see if it follows. And it's not, because I think I turned it off. And I think I do this. Tammy's peace sign or deuces, and it's not working. So I got to still figure out how to use this gimbal. But again, I'd recommend purchasing it, especially if you are a creator or influencer. With that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Again, say a prayer, cross your fingers, wish me luck. I need some money. I'm good, but I want to win. Win, win, win. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you so much for your time, for being here, for your comments. I do enjoy talking about this stuff, but forgive me if I get a little emotional or start shaking because I haven't talked about my experiences in years. I think I lost count at 28 surgeries since October 16th, 99. I've been septic 4 times, and since that near-death experience, I have come 4 times close to death, the last one being not even a year ago. I've been septic, like I said, I think 5 times. Every time my fevers get higher and harder to break because I still have partial kidney failure. Your kidneys do regenerate. I did get a transplant, but will never have full function again. So my body does not fight infections well. If you have a 24-hour common cold, it could be fatal for me. I'll usually get sick for 2 weeks. But I'm still here. God is good, and He has given me multiple chances to try to make the best of the life that God has given me. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I love you. Have a great day. Be blessed and be kind. Be kind. Bye. I said good day.